Down Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sarvadacharya Asadhara Sadushi Sriman His Divine Grace Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gora Prahladananda Slava Ukupyani Bhakti Slava Shri Guru Shri Guru Namo Vishnu Graya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gora Vani Pracharne Nirvishesha Srimavadi Asvaita Desvata Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Hidamayam Vidati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukha Hara Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadhutam Vrijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vasakam Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Bhakta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishna Manasudha Devi Pranamami Rikriye Vancha Kalpa Dhruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patiranam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranitananda Shri Gadadhar Srivastava Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna Dobre Doshli. I don't know if I gave a title. Do we have a who's the translator? No translator. Gavrite anglicky. Shrizumite anglicky?
Seems to be there is one, maybe I can...
Go for it, yes. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So I'm going to read from the Bhagavad Gita. This title of my seminar is called The Secret of Advancement in Spiritual Life. I shouldn't really give the seminar because it's a secret, but... somehow or another will. I'm going to read from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 4, text number 34, a very famous verse. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadechanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshanaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So everyone could repeat in English or in Serbsky or Hrvatsky or Slovinsky or Francis, whatever. Just try to learn the truth. By approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Srila Prabhupada's purport. This path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciple succession from the Lord himself. So we have two ideas here. One is that self-realization is difficult. So if someone finds it very easy, you're probably not taking part in self-realization. It's supposed to be difficult, or it is difficult. And the solution is we have to approach a bona fide spiritual master who comes in the line of Lord Krishna himself. So if we're finding spiritual life difficult, then the solution is we have to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciple succession from the Lord himself. Now let's find out who a bona fide spiritual master is. Because a lot of people claim they're bona fide spiritual masters. So let's find out what Srila Prabhupada has to say. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following the principle of disciple succession. In other words, the bona fide Krishna has his idea, and those who are in the bona fide disciple succession, they have the same idea as Krishna. Now if someone has a different idea from someone in that bona fide line of disciple succession, then they're not bona fide. Just like, for instance, if I'm representing a company, say Ford Motor Company, but I decide to sell my own car because I'll make more money that way. But I claim it's a Ford, but actually it's something that I manufacture. So I'm actually not a bona fide representative of Ford. I'm cheating my customers, but they believe they're getting a Ford, but actually they might be getting something like a Volkswagen or something less. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciple succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. So this is Prabhupada, what he used to explain many times, that to become a bona fide spiritual master is not that difficult. To be a good bona fide spiritual master may be a little difficult, but to become a bona fide spiritual master is not so difficult. Just like to become a postman is not difficult. All you do is have to take the letter and deliver it, and then you're a bona fide postman. Now, if you open the letter and you rewrite the letter, then you're not a bona fide postman. You've changed the letter. All your job is simply to deliver the letter, and then you're bona fide. Not so difficult. So Krishna said something, we repeat the same thing, and then we're bona fide. Not that to be bona fide you have to be able to walk on water, or fly in the air, or exhibit so many different mystic powers. When Srila Prabhupada was asked, can you show me some mystic power? Prabhupada said no, but he said he pointed to his disciples and said, this is my mystic power. Previously they were all drug-addicted hippies, and now they're pure devotees of Krishna, dancing and chanting like jubilant peacocks. He said, that's my mystic power. I've taken drug-addicted hippies and turned them into pure devotees of Krishna. So that's the most important mystic power anyone can have, and everyone in the line of disciple succession can also gain that mystic power by repeating the same message that we receive through our line of teachers. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process, as is the fashion of foolish pretenders. The Bhagavatam says, 6.3.19, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help lead one to the right path. Nor by independent study of books of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. So what's the secret for advancement in spiritual life? So it's a secret, so don't tell anyone else. You'll divulge the secret. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper accommodation for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master, and when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. Not only one should hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one should get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind toward the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. So the verse again. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya budekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshanaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paschatya Siddharne. There are three elements here, or actually four. One of them is submission. The other one is inquiry. The other is service. And the other is knowledge or realization. And there's a whole formula given here to help us understand how to apply these four principles. Now we can take submission. It's something like karma yoga. In the sense, submission means that we have to follow. We have to follow the directions of Krishna, coming into simple succession, and we have to become jignasu, like in Jnana Yoga. And ultimately there's service, there's bhakti yoga. Karma yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. So when we combine together submission, and we combine together knowledge, then we actually get pure devotional service. But because we're on the path leading to pure devotional service, in the meantime we have to get it, by our submission, then we have to get a clear understanding, so that eventually our Krishna consciousness develops. By our inquiry. So there's a combination here which is a little complicated between submission and inquiry and service and realization. And Prabhupada has a few things to help us understand this. Blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. So blind following means we hear something, but we don't really try to understand it. We just follow blindly. And the other is absurd inquiries. In ISKCON, probably they're still debating where the jiva came from. Sometimes I even mention that, and immediately there's a debate. And I just say, take it outside. That's an American. We want to fight outside. So, whether the jiva came from Brooklyn or he came from the spiritual world, it makes really no difference in our devotional service. And if we fight about it too much, then this jiva will take birth in Brooklyn again. So better not to get too much into it. So that's absurd inquiries. In the Christian tradition, it's how many angels fit on the tip of a pin. You have to, in Siri, they have something called Siri. You can ask Siri anything. And you can ask Siri how many angels fit on the tip of a pin. You can let us know. But how many angels, it makes no difference. So that's considered an absurd inquiry. So blindly following, it says, for instance, one should what's an example of blind following? Could anyone give an example of blind following? Because that's a famous story that everyone knows. I could tell it as an example. That Guru had so many disciples, and he was riding to some town on the back of a horse. And he had a Guru hat, turban on, and the wind blew it away. So the disciples, they didn't pick it up, because they only did what the Guru told them. And the Guru didn't tell them to pick it up, so they just left the turban on the ground. So after some time, Guruji realized, my hat has fallen off, my turban has fallen off. So he asked the disciples, Guruji, where's the hat? Shishas, my disciples, where's the hat? He said, Guruji, it's on the ground. It's a kilometer back. What? You rascals, why didn't you pick it up? But Guruji, we only do what you tell us to do. All right, go get the turban And I'll give you, if anything falls off, I give you instruction. Anything falls off the horse, you pick it up. Yes, Guruji. Whatever you say, we're soul surrendered unto you. Kindly instruct us. So Guruji has his turban on again, the wind's still blowing. Guruji's turban got knocked off the horse. The disciple said, well, Guruji said pick it up. Very shortly after that, Guruji and the horse are riding, and the horse starts passing stool and urine. The disciples look at each other and say, Guruji said, anything that falls off the horse, we have to pick up and give back to him. So they put all the stool and urine inside Guruji's turban to give back to him. Guruji said, where's my turban? Here it is, Guruji. Ah, you rascals! What is this? Guruji, you told us whatever falls off the horse we give you. All right, you foolish rascals, you good-for-nothings. Look, I'll make a list. If anything falls off, if anything's on this list, you pick it up. And if it's not on the list, you just leave it on the ground. Yes, Guruji, whatever you say. So, of course, Guruji's hat, turban fell off again. The wind blew it away. Disciples picked it up. They looked on the list. Guruji's hat, number 1. The horse started to pass stool and urine. They checked the list. Not on the list. Just leave it alone. Then the horse was going along, and the horse saw one snake and began to trot very rapidly. So rapidly that Guruji's head hit a branch, and Guruji was knocked unconscious on the ground. The disciple looked at the list. Guruji's not on the list. We don't pick him up. So they took the horse and they rode to the city and left Guruji. So that's an example of blind following. So blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned, that one should not only hear submissively. In other words, submission is the entry point. The idea to be willing to follow what's being said. If we're not willing to follow what's being said, then we're just wasting our time. It's just a waste of time. I say black and you think white. I say jump forward and you go backward. So then there's no sense of giving any instruction or understanding because one is not willing to listen. So blind following, absurd inquiries and condemn. One should not only hear submissively, but one should get a clear understanding. Because we may be very submissive, but if we don't hear clearly what's going on, then our submission is also useless. Because we don't know what to be submissive to. So one should get a clear understanding. What's the process of getting a clear understanding? Through submission, service, and inquiry. In other words, by becoming submissive, that's very good. We should always be submissive. That's why we have, that's why we have a vision. We're trying, the scriptures, Srila Rupa Goswami, gives us a vision of who to be submissive to. Ultimately, we're submissive to the Mahabhagavad, or the devotee who's engaged in unalloyed, undeviated devotional service, but his heart is devoid of the propensity to criticize others. But he tells us to be submissive to other devotees too. It's not that the Mahabhagavad says, only if you surrender to me, do you make any progress? We have Prabhupada's example that he delegated his authority to those who repeated his message and followed his instructions. He gave authority to his sannyasis, he gave authority to his temple presidents, to his GBCs, he gave authority to the head cooks. Well, he gave authority, and that authority was delegated. One time they asked Srila Prabhupada on a morning walk, Srila Prabhupada, if you're not present, how do we know, how can we please you? How do we know if you're pleased? And what was Prabhupada's answer? Does anyone know? He said, if my temple president is pleased, if the GBC is pleased, then you'll know I'm pleased. Of course, that's implying also that the temple president and the GBC and other authorities in our lives, our initiated gurus, whatever, they're giving us the instructions coming down in simple succession. But Prabhupada took that for granted. And if they're pleased, then Prabhupada's pleased. Not only Prabhupada's pleased, but the whole disciple succession, going all the way back to Krishna, they're all pleased. And therefore we make spiritual advancement. The service of the self-realized soul, the Mahabhagavad, is not simply to tell people to serve him, it's to teach everyone how to appropriately serve every living entity, what to speak with the devotees. In other words, love is not supposed to be restricted to one devotee, it's supposed to be expanded. At first, it's expanded to all the devotees, appropriately. We respect the devotees who are chanting Hare Krishna within their minds, to cooperate with those devotees out of love and enthusiasm and with intelligence, those who are spreading the Hare Krishna movement, and those who are participating in the temples, worshiping Krishna, and the other devotees there. And to hear that message coming down through the unalloyed pure devotees who are full of affection for Krishna and his servants, and to try to follow their example, see their example in others who are following his instructions and examples, and that way become connected with the disciple succession. So that submission and service, inquiry. So what is the inquiry? Ultimately our inquiry is, a real inquiry is, who am I? Now that's the first inquiry that Krishna answers in Bhagavad Gita, we're not this body. Of course, we can lose that inquiry also after some time. Oh, I heard that so many times, we're not this body. So boring. Same old philosophy. Now they're going to tell me I'm in Maya. Oh, boy, they're really trying to make me feel bad now. I came here so happy, and now they say, you're a Maya, you're a Maya. Ooh, I'm in what? Maya, ooh. I have a solution to all your philosophy. I'm not going to be criticized anymore. I'm going to protect my false ego. Don't worry, don't worry. I don't believe a word they say. So Krishna began, who are we? Kayami. Krishna says we're not this body, we're actually spiritual souls. And Trapa, what is that verse? Trapa, the Trapa means misery. Traya, Trapa. What's that? Tapa Traya, but Sanatana Goswami asked, why am I suffering? So actually they follow one after another. There are 5 kleshas. What is the first? Misery? What's that? The first, well, that's a misery. But there are 5 kinds of kleshas. The first one is avidya. What does avidya mean?
Ignorant.
Yes, we don't know who we actually are. And what follows when you don't know who you are? Then asmita, that we think ourselves to be something we're really not. So it's very bad to not know who we are. But it's even worse to think ourselves to be something that we're not. Now, we think we know who we are. That's a lot of difficulty, because then we won't find out who we really are. If you think we already know who we are, then it's very difficult to inquire who actually am I. Just if I think I'm self-realized, I'm a perfect devotee, then it's very difficult to make any spiritual advancement. So what's the first element of spiritual advancement? What's the first element of knowledge? Yes, humility. So we go back to the spiritual world and we think, here I am. Finally I made it. Welcome me. There's a big kirtan party out there. Jai Jiva, Jai Jai. Hi-bo, hi-bo. We think we get back to the spiritual world and we think, I've made it. No more humility. I can just throw it out the window. I'm here. Gopi! Gopi! Bow down, cowherd boy. Blade of brass, here you go, my lotus feet. No, in the spiritual world, actually, everyone is humble, unlimitedly humble. They're not just a little humble, they're unlimitedly humble. There's a book called the Vilas Kushamanjali. Kushamanjali, I guess, is a bouquet of flowers offered at the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. And in there's some very nice examples. For instance, sometimes Raghunath Das Goswami, as in his transcendental form as Rati, or Rati Mantri, sometimes Srimati Radharani, she's saying, dress me quickly, you know, Krishna's waiting for me, you know, put on my ornaments, and Rati's saying, wait a second, Srimati Radharani, calm down, calm down. Last time you were in such a rush, you put the top part of your sari on the bottom and the bottom part on the top, and it was a little embarrassing. You know, just calm down, you know. Last time I only was able to put mascara on one of your eyes, and it looked a little strange when you went to meet Krishna. So Radharani is saying, hurry up, you know, get down, Krishna's waiting for me. So then she's just about to leave and she stops and goes, Rati, do you think Krishna really wants to see me? Maybe he wants to see some other gopi. And then Rati has to convince Srimati Radharani, no, you're known as, you know, Krishna lives, his very existence exists by meeting you. And then she gives Srimati Radharani courage, and then she races down to see Krishna. So here Srimati Radharani, can anyone compete with Srimati Radharani in the spiritual world? No, she's unlimitedly attractive. She's the very essence of Krishna's pleasure potency, and yet she's unlimitedly humble also. She thinks herself unworthy of seeing Krishna. But still, she's so impelled to please Krishna, she's driven by that desire to please Krishna, even she feels humble and inadequate, still she does everything she can to please Krishna. And what about Rati? She's instructing Srimati Radharani, Rati Manjari. But she's always hankering to be recognized as a kinkari. Kim means what, and Kara means to do. So Kinkari means what can I do? So that's the manjaris. They're always asking, well, they don't have to ask, they're always doing something to please Srimati Radharani, prepare Srimati Radharani, so that Krishna can be more happy. But she's always wanting to be recognized as a bona fide servant of Srimati Radharani. Now she's eternally there, but she's always hankering eternally to become a bona fide assistant to Srimati Radharani. Although she's like she's exactly like a shadow to Srimati Radharani. Wherever Srimati Radharani goes, she's right there serving her. And yet she's always feeling, when will the day come when Srimati Radharani recognizes me as her bona fide servant? So if we think we've already made enough spiritual advancement, we've understood everything, well, that's not a very good position. Humility is not only the beginning, but it eternally goes on. If we don't like the word humility, we want to surpass humility, it's somehow or another our self-esteem is it's an obstacle to our self-esteem, our transcendental humility, then we've come to the wrong movement. If we want to become God, this is not the place to do it. So, the humility is the basis of spiritual advancement, and submission, service, inquiry. So we want to become submissive, and that way we can, how do we show our submission? We have to inquire. The first inquiry, as I said, was, who am I? And then what about the threefold miseries? So because of asmita, because of false ego, because of misidentifying ourselves with this body, along with that comes rag and dvesha. As soon as we think we're this body, then automatically then there's rag, dvesha. Rag means, well, the body will automatically give us something to hanker for. And as soon as we hanker for something, then in the course of time, we're going to lament. Krishna Bahir Mukha Bhogavancha Tare Nikatasta Tare Japati Dare. As soon as we forget who we are, as soon as we get asmita, then rag and dvesha will be there, and we'll be occupied in material existence, and abhiniveshita. Then all kinds of anxiety and fear will arise. So, in order to overcome this, we have to inquire. Krishna says we're not this body, and then he goes on progressively to karma yoga, jnana yoga, etc., etc. And then ultimately we arrive at bhakti yoga. So bhakti yoga means we've understood I am Krishna's servant. I should find out about Krishna by hearing about him. And the more I hear about him, the more I understand how to serve him and his devotees, because Krishna includes his devotees. And as I do that, as I develop my service attitude, and my humility, as when I understand things properly, then real humility is there, and real anxiety to please Krishna develops, then I make spiritual advancement. So, blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned, that one should not only hear submissively, but one should get a clear understanding through service, through submission, service, and inquiry. So that probably goes over the different combinations. But to just jump back in the purport a little, satisfaction of the self-realized soul is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. The self-realized soul represents that because they're because they're submissive, because they've inquired about Krishna from the right source, because they've rendered service, and because they're continuously being submissive and inquisitive and rendering service. Therefore, they're in contact with Krishna and with his disciple succession of devotees, and therefore, if we follow them, if they're pleased, then the whole disciple succession, we're serving them. The line of acharyas, the 6 Goswamis, the Panchatattva, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and ultimately we're serving Radha and Krishna and their associates in the spiritual world. Just by pleasing those devotees in the disciple succession. Therefore, Tarko Apratishta Shutiya Vivina Esavarishirya Yasyanabina Dharmasya Tattvam Nihitam Guhaya Mahajano Yena Katasa Panta. So this is jumping back further in the purport, that Tarka Apratishta, arguments, dry arguments. Where did the jiva come from? Does anyone know? Does anyone know where the jiva came from? Rihini Sutabru. Where did the jiva come from? Well, I know one jiva, Jiva Das. He came from Brooklyn, actually. But we've heard perhaps the jiva came from Mahavishnu. Some say he came from the spiritual world. Some say he came from Brooklyn. Some say so many different things. So this is, and what's the result of arguing back and forth where the jiva came from? Has there been a conclusion? So maybe we should continue the argument. But Tarka Apratishta, dry arguments are not appreciated. Arguments are good. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says we should discuss these things, but just dry philosophical arguments by themselves are not very conclusive. Shutayani vibina. And we can argue from scripture, but there are so many scriptures. There are so many parts of the scripture. If you want to prove something, you can find something in the scripture to prove it. If you want to prove that, it's like in the 9th canto, it says it's good for a certain class of people to engage in unrestricted sense gratification. Because that way their desires are burnt out and they become desireless after some time. So we can take that from the 9th canto, and we can take it as our instruction from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Just like Rajneesh. You've heard of Rajneesh? Osa. You've heard of Osa? Yes. He was a brahmachari. A famous brahmachari in India. But he became a little proud of being a brahmachari. And so one day he put an advertisement in the newspaper in India, the biggest newspapers in India, challenging any woman to come and help and cause him to fall down. So one famous prostitute in India took up the challenge and came, met Oso or Rajneesh, and spent the night together. And the next day, Oso or Rajneesh wrote a letter, an article actually, Liberation Through Sex. So he took the Bhagavatam philosophy and applied it very sincerely in his life and in the lives of others. Unrestricted sense gratification. And eventually you get burnt out and then you'll become desireless. But that's meant for the lowest class of living human beings, or nearly human beings. It's not meant for everyone. Civilized human beings have another standard of becoming free from sense desire. So we can take anything we want from the scripture, but it may not apply properly. We may not be applying it properly. So not that we shouldn't discuss things, not that we shouldn't study scripture, and not that we shouldn't hear from great authorities, but simply by individually arguing or studying scripture, or by hearing from so many different devotees, that may not lead us to the conclusion. What will lead us to the conclusion? Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam. If we really want to know the essence of religion, mahajano yena kata sapanta, we have to choose some self-realized person and follow them, a mahajan. Now the fact is, everyone in the universe is following their own mahajans. It is not that only the devotees are following mahajans. Everyone has a mahajan that they're following. In the mode of ignorance, then Ravana or Hiranyakashipu becomes a mahajan, and people are very sincerely following him. Andaya Tandira Upagiyamanas Te Pisha Tantra Urudami Bhara. Blind people are following other blind people. So everyone is following. When Srila Prabhupada was talking to Professor Kataski at the University of Moscow, whatever Prabhupada said, Professor Kataski didn't agree. Professor Kataski, you're not this body. Oh, Swamiji, you don't understand. Professor Kataski, you should follow we should create in society first-class men. Oh, Swamiji, everyone is first class in communist society. And Prabhupada said, well, actually what we all agree in, what we have to agree, is that everyone has a leader and you have to follow the leader. So you've chosen Lenin as your leader, and we've chosen Krishna as our leader. So we're following Krishna, and you're following Lenin. We'll go where Krishna is, and you'll go where Lenin is. So if you want to find out where Lenin is, I think he's still in Moscow right now. Red Square, if you go there, you can find Lenin, and probably Professor Kataski is hanging out around there. So in the mode of ignorance, people choose people in the mode of ignorance, then they follow them. They become their leader. In the mode of passion, Bill Gates, the head of Facebook, whoever it is, Zuckerberg, whoever it is, they become the leader. In the mode of goodness, maybe some conservationist, some person into nature and whatever, they become the leader. But if we actually want to become self-realized, then we have to choose someone who is self-realized. Or those who are on the path of self-realization, they can also lead us. Srila Prabhupada said, if you want to follow Narada Muni, if you want to find Narada Muni, how can you find Narada Muni? Anyone would like to find Narada Muni? Anyone here would like to find Narada Muni? We'd like to meet Narada Muni? So how can you find him? What's the method of finding Narada Muni? Does anyone know? What's that?
Maybe loud kirtan?
Well, that would certainly help, but that won't be sufficient. to find Narada Muni. What do you have to do? That's not sufficient. Many people are doing Sankirtan. You have to find his footprints. You have to follow them. That will lead to Narada Muni. Mahajo yena katasapanta. You have to find the footprints and then follow them. And then you'll find Narada Muni.
He's flying.
What's that?
He's flying. You don't have to.
And they follow the exhaust trail. Anyone who flies knows that there's always an exhaust. So, we have to choose a leader and follow that leader. But, as Prahlad Maharaj said, people don't know that the aim of life is to meet Krishna. And therefore they choose something insignificant. So if one chooses something insignificant to achieve, then one will find some leader to help them achieve it. First we have some desire to achieve something, to get something, to enjoy something, and then we choose our leader to help us enjoy it, to find it, to get it, to control it, to enjoy it. Or if we have a leader, we've chosen a leader, then they will inspire us to enjoy certain things, to obtain certain things. And it goes on. So we want self-realization. Then we come in contact with the devotees. That will inspire us to inquire, to become submissive, to find the actual goal of life. In other words, generally speaking, everyone wants happiness. They want knowledge how to get happiness, and they want that perpetually, eternally. And everyone's advertising it. The Coke is the real thing. Or it was one beer commercial. You better to get all the gusto you can. In other words, if you drink this beer, then you become self-realized. So everyone is advertising for perpetual happiness, that we know the way. But if people come in contact with the devotees, then they can find out what actually is the way. And even if we don't completely know the way ourselves, but we can point the way and point to the devotees who are following the way as the way to get there. Those who are following the Mahajans. So every Mahajan is following a Mahajan. That's called our disciple succession. So we point the way that these devotees are following the Mahajan. If you follow them, you'll get to the Mahajan, which will bring you to Krishna. If you serve Krishna's, the devotee, if you serve the devotee, the Mahajan, the servants of the Mahajan, then the Mahajan will be pleased, and he's pleased. All this is simple succession, from our acharyas to the 6 Goswamis, to the Panchatattva, to Krishna. They'll all be pleased, and you'll also be pleased. That's our philosophy. That's our faith. What's that? Shraddha, Vishvasya, Kore, Krishna, oh excuse me. Krishna, what's that? What is the definition of faith? The Shraddha, Shabde, Vishvasya Kahe, Suri Danishchai, Krishna Bhakti Kaila Sarva Kritahai. That the actual definition of faith is firm faith that simply by pleasing Krishna, all other desires, all other achievements will be there. Or as it says, Ita Pura Mula Nisechanena Triptyanti Tatskanu Bujo Pushaka Pranaharachcha Yatendriyanam Tataiva Sarvahanam Atiteja. If we water the root of the tree, then the water goes to all the leaves and branches. If we provide food to the stomach, then the different parts of the body is served. if we serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then automatically the whole creation is served. So we become the servant of 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 Krishna. And where can we find a servant of Krishna around us? Can we find any servant around here? A servant of the servants? Can everyone look around? Could everyone look to the right? Everyone look to the right now? Look to the left. Have you seen any servant of Krishna around?
I saw on the left.
On the left. Turn to the right again. What do you see anything? Yes. Gotta do a little neck exercise here. Help us advance spiritually. Yeah, so we serve the servants of Krishna, and how do we serve them? What is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's formula for serving him in this age? We're serving the servants of Krishna. What is the formula he gave? Same formula Krishna gave. Same formula that's always been given, that Prabhupada gave. Yari Deka Tarikaha Krishna Upadesh Amara Aga Gurahana Taridesh. Whoever we meet, we should try to help them become Krishna conscious. So that's how we serve the servants of the servants of the servants of Krishna. We should participate in the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to help others become Krishna conscious, to serve them in that way. That's how to water the root of the tree. That's that's the satisfaction of the self-realized devotees who know that we're all eternal servants of Krishna, and if we try to please Krishna's servants, try to please Krishna by pleasing his servants, those who are actually in the line of succession, then everyone will be pleased and our life will be successful. So, what time is this class supposed to go to? 1:15, okay. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Shri Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gora Premanande.